The Korean Peninsula remains a powder keg, a stark reminder of the Cold War's enduring legacy. North Korea, officially the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, has been ruled by the Kim dynasty since 1948. Its isolationist policies and pursuit of nuclear weapons have put it at odds with the international community, particularly the United States and its allies in South Korea and Japan. Tensions have flared repeatedly over the decades. North Korea's nuclear and missile tests, coupled with its bellicose rhetoric, have drawn condemnation and sanctions. The assassination of Kim Jong-nam, the half-brother of Kim Jong-un, on foreign soil in 2017, further heightened anxieties about the regime's ruthlessness and unpredictability. The Biden administration faces the daunting task of finding a path to diplomacy while deterring North Korean aggression. The world watches nervously, hoping for a peaceful resolution to one of the most dangerous standoffs of our time. Despite its isolation and economic struggles, North Korea has amassed a formidable military force. It boasts one of the largest standing armies in the world, with an estimated 1.2 million active personnel. While much of its equipment is outdated, Pyongyang has invested heavily in asymmetric capabilities designed to inflict maximum damage on its adversaries.
At the heart of North Korea's arsenal is its growing nuclear weapons program. While the exact number of warheads remains unknown, estimates range from 40 to 60. More concerning is its development of increasingly sophisticated delivery systems, including intercontinental ballistic missiles potentially capable of reaching the continental United States. In addition to its nuclear arsenal, North Korea possesses a vast array of conventional weapons. These include thousands of artillery pieces and rocket launchers positioned along the demilitarized zone, within range of Seoul, the South Korean capital. North Korea's cyber capabilities pose a significant and growing threat, one that could have devastating consequences in the event of a wider conflict.
The United States maintains a robust military presence in the Asia-Pacific region, committed to the security of its allies. At the heart of this presence is the U.S. 7th Fleet, home-ported in Yokosuka, Japan. The 7th Fleet is the largest of the forward-deployed U.S. fleets.
In a conflict with North Korea, the 7th Fleet would project American power. Its aircraft carriers would launch waves of fighter jets and bombers. Guided missile destroyers and cruisers would provide air defense. The U.S. also maintains a significant ground force presence in South Korea.
The Korean Peninsula exists in a perpetual state of uneasy truce, a frozen conflict waiting for a spark. Several scenarios could trigger a devastating conflict.
One pathway to war is accidental escalation. The risk of miscalculation is high. Another scenario involves North Korean provocation. Such actions could trigger a forceful response. Any conflict would have devastating consequences.
In the event of war, the opening moves would be swift and brutal. North Korea, relying on its doctrine of speed and surprise, would likely launch a massive artillery barrage against Seoul and its surrounding areas, attempting to inflict maximum damage and sow chaos in the opening hours of the conflict. Simultaneously, it might target U.S. and South Korean military bases with ballistic missiles, aiming to cripple their ability to respond.
The United States and South Korea, while taken aback by the initial onslaught, would quickly retaliate with overwhelming force. U.S. and South Korean fighter jets would take to the skies, targeting North Korean artillery positions, missile launchers, and command and control centers. American submarines and warships would launch cruise missiles against key infrastructure and military targets.
The early days of the conflict would be characterized by intense fighting along the DMZ and in the skies over the Korean Peninsula. Pyongyang's willingness to accept heavy losses and its ability to inflict significant damage in the early stages of the conflict should not be underestimated. Beyond the immediate devastation of military strikes, a war in Korea would unleash a humanitarian crisis of unimaginable proportions. Millions of civilians caught in the crossfire would be forced to flee their homes in search of safety. The exodus would overwhelm neighboring countries, straining resources and testing the limits of compassion.
The flow of refugees would likely be multi-directional. South Koreans, facing the terrifying prospect of North Korean artillery raining down on their cities, would flee south, seeking refuge in Busan and other major cities. North Koreans, caught between the regime's brutality and the horrors of war, might attempt to escape across the northern border into China or Russia.
The international community would face the daunting task of providing humanitarian assistance on a massive scale. The psychological scars of war, particularly for children who have known nothing but conflict and displacement, would have long-lasting consequences. A war on the Korean Peninsula would send shockwaves far beyond the region, impacting the global economy and upending the geopolitical order.
Economically, a war in Korea would be devastating. South Korea, a global economic powerhouse, would see its industries crippled and its exports grind to a halt. The disruption to global supply chains, particularly in the technology and automotive sectors, would be significant. Financial markets would plunge into turmoil, as investors fled to safety and uncertainty gripped the global economy.
Politically, a war in Korea would have profound implications. The potential use of nuclear weapons by North Korea would be a game changer, with unpredictable and catastrophic consequences. The Korean War, though officially ending in an armistice in 1953, never truly concluded. The peninsula remains divided, a stark reminder of the Cold War's enduring legacy and the human cost of ideological conflict. As we grapple with the possibility of a new Korean War, it's crucial to examine the lessons of the past and the enduring consequences of frozen conflicts. The Korean War serves as a stark reminder of the devastating human cost of war. Millions perished in the conflict, both soldiers and civilians caught in the crossfire. The war left the Korean peninsula in ruins, its people divided and scarred by the horrors they had witnessed. The armistice that ended the fighting did little to heal the divisions. The demilitarized zone, a 5-mile-wide buffer zone stretching across the peninsula, became a symbol of the enduring stalemate. War, by its very nature, is unpredictable and chaotic. The fog of war obscures rational judgment, amplifying the risk of miscalculation and unintended consequences.
One of the most significant dangers is the potential for escalation. What might begin as a limited border skirmish or a provocative act by North Korea could quickly spiral out of control, drawing the United States and its allies into a wider conflict. The presence of nuclear weapons in North Korea's arsenal adds another layer of complexity and danger.
The fog of war also makes it difficult to predict how other actors in the region, such as China and Russia, would respond to a conflict on the Korean peninsula. China, North Korea's closest ally, has a vested interest in maintaining stability on its border, but is also wary of a unified Korea allied with the United States.
The unpredictability of war underscores the importance of diplomacy and deterrence. Diplomatic efforts to engage North Korea, while challenging, remain the best hope for averting a catastrophic conflict. The specter of nuclear war has haunted humanity since the end of World War II. The development and proliferation of nuclear weapons have created a dangerous world, where a single miscalculation or act of aggression could have catastrophic consequences.
North Korea's pursuit of nuclear weapons has been a source of international concern for decades. Its repeated nuclear and missile tests, in defiance of United Nations Security Council resolutions, have heightened tensions and raised fears of a regional arms race. The potential use of nuclear weapons by North Korea, either intentionally or accidentally, is a nightmare scenario that keeps world leaders up at night.
The international community has a responsibility to prevent North Korea from using nuclear weapons. This requires a multifaceted approach that combines diplomacy, sanctions, and deterrence. Deterrence remains a crucial element of any strategy to prevent nuclear war. Despite the challenges and the ever-present risks, diplomacy remains the only viable path to a lasting peace on the Korean peninsula. While military options cannot be taken off the table entirely, they should be viewed as a last resort, given the potentially catastrophic consequences of a war in such a volatile region.
Dialogue and engagement, though often frustrating and fraught with setbacks, are essential for building trust, reducing tensions, and ultimately finding a peaceful resolution. The international community must remain united in its condemnation of North Korea's nuclear and missile programs, while simultaneously keeping the door open for dialogue and diplomacy.
Sanctions, while a necessary tool for pressuring North Korea, should not be seen as an end in themselves. They should be part of a broader strategy that includes diplomatic engagement and incentives for North Korea to denuclearize.
The stakes are incredibly high, not just for the Korean Peninsula but for global security as a whole. The world must choose peace and work tirelessly to achieve it.